p.m. and I would like to call to order the May meeting of the Southampton County School Board. We have all 9 of our school board members present, so we do have a quorum. The next item on the agenda is the adoption of the agenda. Is there a school board member who needs to add an item to the agenda tonight? If there are no additions to the agenda, then the agenda is approved as distributed in your board packets. Then we're down to approval of minutes. The minutes of our April meeting were included in your board documents. Are there any corrections to the minutes? If there are no corrections, then the minutes are approved as presented. We're now down to recognition, so we do have one very special recognition, the 2024 Virginia Board of Education Exemplar Award that Nottoway Elementary School received. So Dr. Shannon?
Sure. It is with great pride that I announced that Nottoway Elementary School has been recognized as exemplary by the Virginia Department of Education, exceeding board established requirements. This recognition is a part of the Exemplar Performance School Recognition Program. The recognition by the Virginia Board of Education not only highlights the achievements of the schools, but also emphasizes the collective effort of educators, students, and the community. Celebrating these successes inspires and motivates further improvements and achievements across the educational spectrum. If you're connected with Nottoway Elementary School or the community, you should be proud of this moment. I want to congratulate Nottoway on a job well done, and then Mrs. Susan Street, would you please come to the podium just to be recognized? Leader of Nottoway Elementary School, so I would also like to say thank you, Ms. Street, for your leadership, and thank you to the teachers, the staff, the students, the parents, and the community for your exemplary work. So thank you.
The next item on the agenda is the 2020-24 BSBA artwork display. Dr. Shannon?
Sure. The artwork that you see displayed behind the board members here on the left side is artwork that was taken to the Tower Regional Art Forum, and that is representative of the work of our students. The students are River Gunn from Capron Elementary School and Jada Sykes from Southampton High School. They participated and they did a fantastic job, and we are extremely proud of our students. So we are displaying their work tonight. Congratulations to those students and their families.
Thank you. We are down to public comments, and we did not have any persons sign up for public comment period tonight. So we're down to item 5 on the agenda, which would be matters from previous meetings. So the first item is the update on the 2024-25 school operating budget. Dr. Shannon?
Yes, ma'am. Ms. Carr is going to give the update on the budget. And then we'll talk a little bit about the budget cuts, or the proposed budget cuts.
Good evening. bring your attention, I believe Dr. Shannon, in Laverne's cart is a handout.
Yeah, and I printed a copy as well.
Oh, okay, yeah, I have to set up.
All right, I'll get it.
Oh, you do? Oh,
Yeah,
wonderful,
I
thank you, thank you. I have printed it out. Okay, I just wanted to go over, the information, the latest information we had on the budget. On April the 10th, we presented, Dr. Shan presented your approved budget to the Southampton County Board of Supervisors. In order to balance the budget, we needed an increase of $2,147,625 in local funds. The Board of Supervisors not only denied our request for an increase, but also recommended to cut our local funding $596,928 below our local funding. This action was approved as part of the county's proposed budget, and it will be up for final approval on May the 28th. You have been given a list of possible budget cuts, which total $2,744,553. This includes the $2,147,625 that we had requested, plus the additional $596,928 that they cut us below level funding. We were required to provide a reduced categorical budget for publication of the county's proposed budget. So we used this list to reduce the associated categories. So in this scenario, we cut 5 vacant instructional positions, plus all the additional positions that were requested as part of your approved budget. We also cut salary increases from 5 to 3% across board, with the exception of the career steps on the teacher scale. Other significant cuts included were $500,000 for the mold mitigation, $506,050 for the software programs. This scenario does retain the increase in utilities and fuel costs. And these are items that we feel like we need to leave in the budget because of the rising costs, and we have been able to increase those line items in the last several years. Once we receive the final local revenue after the May 28th Board of Supervisors meeting, we will present to you a revised budget at the June school board meeting for your approval. We just wanted to make you aware of the list, and if you have any questions or concerns, I will have to start developing a line item budget to present to you based on, the possible cuts. So if there's anything else that you want us to consider, if, I don't know if you want to think about it or if you want to get back with us, but, like I said, these cuts, I talked with Lynette Lowe, they're not, in stone, of course. They hadn't seen these cuts. All that they've gotten is the categorical revised budget. So, I did ask the question, could we make changes? Because I knew we had not been, before our board, and she said we could, so.
Mr. Smith and Ms. Bond constitute the school board budget committee. They are representatives on that school board budget. So Mr. Smith and Ms. Bond, any comments, anything you'd like to add?
I think that we met our charge. The Constitution of the State of Virginia charges us as a school board to develop the best possible school board budget that we possibly can for the stakeholders in Southampton County. And I think we put that on the table. We'll have to deal with things that we have to cut, but we're being rather even below that. Yes.
I agree with Mr. Smith. We put together a budget looking at what the needs of the division are and what we would need to provide the best education that we can for the students in the county. And of course, it's always disheartening when we come back to the table and say the things that we know that we need or the things that we're asking for because we know that they will benefit the students and the staff. Even though we then go back to the drawing table and figure out where to make these cuts and how to make it work. And of course, we may have a little bit of within these categories. Have $526,000 below the development.
So if we have any suggestions, Ms. Carr, we'll follow them through.
Thank you.
Ms. Bond and Mr. Smith,
Thank you.
to get
Okay.
to the meeting, because I'm sure you're gonna meet with there will be a budget, committee meeting. So if you have suggestions, we'll contact them. So board members, if you have suggestions for cuts or, if you want to have any kind of input concerning the needed cuts to the, budget that we approve, please send your comments to Ms. Roundtree or Mr. Smith concerning what we need to cut, since we are $500,000 below the, below level funding. So not only did we, not get the increase, we got a decrease. But send your suggestions to our board members.
Just to make sure we're setting
Yes, I'm sorry. And I'm looking right at Denise. So send your comments to Ms. Bond. So, send your comments to Denise Bond, and Chris Smith, concerning the cuts. If you have any suggestions about where we could cut or where we should cut, to make sure that we can present, the budget with the cuts needed. So it's Ms. Bond.
I'll say, and keep in mind with that, on top of that amount that we're below level funding, we also have to absorb the increase in energy costs, the increase in fuel costs. So it's kind of like a double whammy to do both, because
Yes.
we're absorbing the inflation piece of it along with taking the cuts.
Shannon, additional comments?
Well, I would just like to say that, we are going to have to increase class sizes because of the budget cuts. And, year after year, we're talking about teacher pay increases or us being competitive with surrounding school divisions. But if we never fully funded, then it's going to be hard for us to continue to remain competitive with, surrounding school divisions. And we recommended a 5% budget increase, and we now are going to have to reduce that 5% down to a 3% budget increase if we're not asked to reduce the budget anymore. So it really is getting to the point where it's going to impact the quality of instruction. Year after year, we make requests, and year after year, we're not fully funded. So we'll do the best that we can, like we always do, with whatever funds that we have.
Thank you. Any additional comments?
I just have one question. I noticed in the recommended cuts, the special education positions that were added are there. Are we gonna be able to meet our legal expectations for special education if we don't have those positions included? Because we, around caseload size for special ed.
So I will say that there are some exclusions, there are some waivers that, we may be able to request. But, honestly, I don't know. I mean, even this year, we had a tough time trying to meet some of the guidelines for special education. And that was because of, again, caseload, the number of students, as compared to the number of teachers who were certified to teach special education. So, like I said, we're just going to continue to do the best that we can. We are upfront with the Virginia Department of Education. They do recognize and they are aware of the situation regarding the teacher shortage and caseloads. And we have been working with our families also on some of the deficits.
The next item on the agenda is the approved school construction assistance program grant for a new catering school. If you remember, back in May, I think it was May of 2023, Southampton County Public Schools received a grant that could be used towards the construction of a new school, realizing that schools at local localities were having difficulty paying for new school construction. A new pot of money was available for schools to apply for grants. So Southampton County was one of, I think, maybe 64 schools to receive that special funding in May of 2023. But Dr. Shannon will give you the update on where we are with that. But it was a grant that was received, but now we have to move forward. So, Dr. Shannon?
Yes, so, we wrote a grant for $5,550,000, and we were awarded those funds, by BDOE. And what I have done is I've asked Mr. Melvin and the architect to come tonight because we still want to, do due diligence on behalf of the students of Capron and the Capron community, and share with you all what our thoughts are regarding the new elementary school, the literary loan, as well as the grant. So, if you all would come to the podium and just talk with the board about that. And again, we've discussed the new elementary school. You know, it's been discussed since I've been here, so it's been discussed for a long time. And right now, we are right at the front door of getting that new elementary school built. We really are. You know, we have written the grant, so the grant is a large part of the funding for the new elementary school, but we can't do it by ourselves. You know, it's going to require the assistance of the board of supervisors, and tonight we do have a resolution that we would like to have approved. But even if our board approves the proposed resolution, if the board of supervisors does not approve the resolution, we still cannot go forward with the literary loan application. The literary loan application is due May the 23rd. And that's why there's such a push to try to get these resolutions approved as quickly as possible. The board of supervisors, I think they actually have a regular scheduled meeting after the 23rd, but if our board approves our resolution tonight, then we will make a formal request to the board of supervisors to ask them if they would be willing to approve a resolution on behalf of the students and the citizens of the Capron community for the elementary school. Yeah. All right, Mr. Melby and our architect.
Thank you, Dr. Shannon. Good morning, board. Again, this is Josh Bauer from Crabtree Robot and Associates. Put together just a small presentation of how we developed the grant last year, and going through all the different pieces for the grant, I was actually really shocked when it came back that we were awarded the 30%. I thought it qualified for 20%, but we qualified for the 30% construction assistance program. So justifications, and again, this is a presentation that was developed to bring out all the information as to why and how we were going to do this. So originally, the building was built in 1956, was put out to bid in 1953. It was really kind of neat to find those documents. But it's old, and it is becoming antiquated. We don't have the space in the gym. We don't have a gym, we don't have a dedicated fine arts area. We have one set of restrooms for the boys, one set of restrooms for the girls, one restroom for the staff. And it's not enough space for our 200 kids that we have at Cape. There are 5 outbuildings that get utilized. The cafeteria can only accommodate about 60 to 75 kids, which then impacts their scheduling and it makes their day disjointed. So you can't have that continuous instructional time. One thing that is not an option is renovation. From the State Department, they said if we were to renovate in to be able to utilize this grant, they would have to go down to the studs. And within that building, you're looking at asbestos tile still that we manage. There's asbestos insulation. So there's a lot of negative things trying to renovate the building as compared to building new. And also, if we did renovate, you'd have to find somewhere, we'd have to relocate those students 18 months while we throw it all out and put it back in. So again, here is that original bid document put out by the division that if architects wanted to see the plans, they go to Richmond, make a deposit, and then come back. That blew my mind. You go pay a deposit to get the plan. Right now, VDOE guidelines, they say our minimum acreage is 5 acres. The apron site right now is 9.7 acres. It originally was 10.8, but when they expanded Highway 58, VDOT took an acre from the frontage of the school. The enrollment over the last seven school years here, we've kind of gone up and down a little bit, just like everybody saw that dip in 2021 following COVID, and then coming back. Now, square footage in the building, and this is how we started to develop cost. And looking at a 400 student elementary school is about 55,000 square feet. That gives us an average of 140 per student. For the VDOE, their recommendations, that averages out to 129 square foot per student. And this year's construction projects that are going on, they range between 112 and 151 square feet per student, and our average is 136. So we'd be right in that realm. Now, a lot of different lines, a lot of different numbers up there. The top line was what the grant was originally structured. So it was taking the average cost of square footage construction last year to develop a $13.5 million building for that square footage for 300 students. We have progressed it out. This year's numbers, obviously, per square foot went up, and in accordance with recommendations from VDOE, we also looked at adding in 25% to the cost because of the 3-year run out. So that gives the 2027 cost, and that again was at 300 students. We then wanted to look at what it would be for 400 students, and so our cost this year was at 20.6, and then projected at 25.7. Now, if we were to build it the absolute identical square footage and everything as Meharon and Nottoway, this year we built it at 19.5, and in 3 years, 24.5. And just for reference, when those two buildings were built, 2000, they were 8.6 million. So it is just incrementally grown and grown over the years. This year's averages, there were a lot of big schools that were built, but more so the important thing is the per square footage price and the per square footage per student. And so we are right in the same ballpark with our estimates. The current apron, there are 187 students, 13 classrooms. There are 5 auxiliary buildings, and like I said, with the restrooms, gym, arts, parking is insufficient. The mixed car and bus traffic, the entrance and exit onto 58 is not what we want it to be. Project timeline, when we look at a full construction project, it is a three-year process. So that's how we get to the planning stages and then getting into the programming. The planning part, we have to finalize our funding. We have to have that in place really before we get going anywhere else down the road. Mr. Bowers helped us with kind of conceptual ideas to help us better our focus and how we can move forward. But that's not the formal, the actual drawings that we're going to get into. That's not it. VDOE comments and feedback they gave to us, they commended us on how we utilized previous year's information in creating our estimation for the building costs. They did caution against getting into contractual pieces with a firm on the front end because it would violate where we could not do literary loans and we would be out of step that They did, like I said earlier, recommended a 25% increase on this year's numbers. But also of note, Chesapeake had an elementary school that was originally estimated this past year at 71 million, and their bids came in at 50.2. On the other end of it, 2 years ago, Brunswick County bid out for their new elementary and middle school, and it came back at 42 million. They said it was too high. It got sent back out. They broke ground on it here recently for 55 million. So you saw 13 million in 1 year increase on the same project. Other pieces that went into why the school needs to be replaced, we looked at HVAC, the roofing system, the flooring within the kitchen. In the kitchen, like I said, the cafeteria is so small, they can't accommodate a whole grade level at one time the way they need. And the one serving line really cuts down on the efficiency of the staff because you can only get so many kids through the line at a time. The domestic water system was last updated in 1975. There was a part that broke about 8 years ago. And because it was so old, they had to have it custom made. So we continue to maintain that on site. And also there is no backup generator at gate. And then this goes into the VDOE requirements of space and how many square foot per classroom. And they do break it down by grade level. They talk about physical activity areas, so having a multi-purpose area within the building and outside of the building, and having transportation where it is eased in and out, and then we're able to separate bus and car traffic coming in, along with the other pieces of the administrative offices, the guidance offices, the secretaries, staff rooms, work rooms, and et cetera, on all those from the state. They ask us and they recommend to us that we meet the high performance energy standards of the LEAP program. We want to be environmentally responsible. We want to utilize the native areas around us. So all of these things went into consideration when building the proposal to put in for the grant. That went to the state and, like I said, was approved at that 30%, which came out to 5.55 million. Any questions?
No, I just think we probably need to clarify that we're talking about, in my mind, two separate things. We're talking about the grant that Southampton County Public Schools received, and the amount of $5 million that would be a grant to go towards the cost of building a K-1 school. Now, the division has to indicate whether or not in order to accept or use that money, the county has to commit to committing funds to construct a building. So we can't keep the $5 million unless we get some kind of commitment from the county that we're gonna move forward building a school. So that's one thing to consider. So it's not like you got the $5 million and it's just gonna stay there until it can be used. You gotta indicate now, are you gonna, do you have a plan to use this $5 million? If not, you gotta give it back, or, you can't have it, right? And then the other part that Mr. Melby has been talking about is that if we do move forward, then the cost of constructing the school would be around 18 million. So the grant is like 30% of the cost of building the school. But in order to finance the rest of it, then that's when we get into the very long part of it. So Shannon, you want to elaborate more?
Well, let me pass out the very long resolution.
And the very long resolution is just a resolution asking the county, will you commit to providing funds to build a new K-12 school? Because we do have to have a resolution from the Board of Supervisors in order to move forward with the building project.
Right, so you have in your hands a copy of a resolution, and this is a resolution that would board wants to move forward with us trying to apply for the literary loan. And I use the word try because again, we cannot do this without the board of supervisors. You know, so even if the board approves this, we have to go to the board of supervisors and make a request to them to also pass a resolution for us to have permission to apply for the literary loan. Now, we've used the literary loan before. We used it when we actually put the roofs on the buildings. And at that time, you know, the county administrator came down and he actually made a presentation to the board regarding the resolution. And then he did the same with the board of supervisors, and you know, we didn't have any problems with that. One of the beauties of the literary loan is that it allows us to get the loan, I think, for about 2%. And so that's why it's so impressive, and that's one of the reasons why we want to utilize this funding mechanism in order for us to fund the new elementary school. So again, the literary loan is in the amount of the resolution states that the literary loan is in the amount of $18 million to finance, you know, some or all of the costs of designing, acquiring, constructing, and equipping a replacement school for Capron Elementary School. And again, it indicates on the resolution that we still need the support of the board of supervisors.
Questions, comments, discussion among board members? Because you know that Capron School has been a need that was identified and that we've been talking about. And Mr. Smith can give some background about that.
We have actually squeezed Capron as much as we can squeeze it. You're talking about usually schools have a 45-year lifespan. Now we're getting very, very old Capron. And we will offer that community what we have in the other sections of the county, that we need to make a move now. We cannot continue to kick the can down the road. We have to do some acquisitions, we have to do some planning. There's so much involved. I was on the board when we built our current new schools. And believe it or not, this building was built in 1993, and we still call it our new high school. And the kids have jumped in and supported the effort. They have taken good care of this building, had adequate maintenance. So we are good stewards of what we are given. We take care of it properly. It's time now for us to make a move on Capron Elementary.
Just to piggyback on what Mr. Smith said, he's right. When we built Nottoway and Maharon, which has now been close to 25 years ago, Capron was on the capital budget list at that time to be replaced. So, I mean, we're approaching 70 years on Capron. And it's not just that the school is old, there are pieces of it that are not functional. And something as simple as running water in a nursing office is not existent in Capron. So you think about it, you have nurses in there trying to take care of students and they don't have a sink that they can walk to and just have ready running water. So it's not anything that we're saying, you know, it would be nice to have a new school or, you know, it's going to be a luxury. At this point, it truly is a necessity. It just doesn't meet the needs of education in the year 2024 to keep functioning in the Capron building. And now that we have an opportunity that we can fund $5.5 million of that with a grant that doesn't affect the county at all as a taxpayer of the county. I love the fact that we're going to get $5.5 million in a grant. Now is the time to act to be able to take advantage of that.
Additional comments from board members, what's your thinking? Mr. Rogers?
Yes. First of all, we've had the grant for Capron for about a year. Have we had any conversation with the county already, either Mr. Trower or with Board of Supervisors, about how we would intend to use it or what they might be able to determine as available from the county's capital plan at all?
So yes, we met with Mr. Grower and Lynette Lowe at least regarding this. But again, they can't do anything unless the board of supervisors, approves it, you know? Yeah. And there was a meeting that was scheduled, Tuesday of last week for us to discuss this matter with the board of supervisors, but that meeting was canceled. And although their meeting was canceled, I just thought that, that we still needed to move forward with our meeting in talking about the new elementary school, just on behalf of the kids. But they did cancel their meeting, but based upon what happens here tonight, I will go back to the board of supervisors if, you know, the vote is affirmative, and talk with them about, you know, having another meeting or scheduling another meeting and, you know, approving a resolution.
Another major aspect that we encountered when we decided to start building these elementary schools and shutting down some things that people call community schools. We have been able to keep these schools, elementary schools, in proximity to our districts. And we were intentional in the way we approached it, with the hopes that at some point in time, the county would develop a recreation, parks and recreation activities program. And so we have put gymnasiums in strategic areas. We got Hearn, we got Nottaway, we got Riverdale, and those buildings were constructed so that at the end of the day, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, a Parks and Recreation department could move right in and offer things for the community at large. And that's what you do when you try to do proper planning. You try to look ahead, be proactive. And I think we've done a great job up to now. We just need to continue moving forward.
I guess our action then is, do we approve the resolution? And then present the resolution to the board of supervisors, or do we not? So I guess that's the decision that our board has to make tonight. Do we want to say, here's a resolution, Southampton County School Board would like to move forward with building a new K-1 school. Here's the resolution saying that we would like to do so, and that we would like to be able to apply for a literary fund loan to finance it, and then leave it to the board of supervisors to say yay or nay, or what would you like our next actions to be? Okay, so are you making that in the form of a motion? So we have a motion by Mr. Scott. Yes. Was that a second, Ms. Roundtree? The second by Ms. Roundtree, that we approve the resolution of the school board for the county of Southampton, Virginia, authorizing the submission of a literary loan fund application. Any discussion on the motion?
I think we owe it to the community in Capeland who's been patient while all the other communities in the county, we move forward with them. We build their schools, and Capeland has stood by that for 20-some years, patiently waiting. I think more than over.
So we would do a roll call vote in terms of affirming the resolution.
Mrs. Denise Bond?
I started, all right, approved.
Mrs. Cassandra Hobbs? Dr. Deborah Goodwin?
Yes.
Mr. Brandon Rogers?
I abstain.
Mrs. Donna Roundtree? Yes. Mr. Gregory Scott?
Disapprove.
Mr. Christopher Smith?
Yes.
Mrs. Oris Lane?
Yes.
Dr. Jennifer Tindall?
Yes.
Thank you. So the measure passes. So we will sign the resolution. Thank you. The next item on the agenda, and that takes takes up items A and B under action items. So we're down to action item C, which is the financial report and payment of bills. Dr. Sherman.
Yes, Ms. Carr will, come to the podium and talk about the financial report.
Good evening. If I can bring your attention to the preliminary expenditure report for the month of April. You'll notice that our revised operating budget is at $35,975,563.98. Expenditures through April 30th total $24,835,962.30. This leaves us a balance of $11,139,601.68. Please note that as of date of this report, 69.04% has been expended from the operating budget. Now, I do want to remind you all that when you're looking at the percentages, keep in mind that the majority of our staff are 10-month employees. Therefore, we have their payrolls for May, June, July, and August that all have to come out of this year's operating budget. So when the percentages, may look like we're gonna have a whole lot of money left, what you have to, realize is that we have to run 3 payrolls in the month of June, okay? Also, attached to the board's agenda tonight is the April bill list. And so we're asking for your approval of the bills. Are there any questions?
Questions from Ms. Carr?
I had one question, Ms. Carr. There was a bill for $277,600 to the Moose Train. Do you know what that was for?
Not right off the, Ms. Melby does.
The chiller, our renewal that we've had approved, October, I think it was, and they had parts and whatnot that had to come in, and it was just.
So not a new expense, just
No,
something that's catching up to it.
Yes.
Thank you, Ms.
Thanks.
Melby.
Any other questions?
I'll make a motion to pay the bill.
We have a motion by Mr. Smith and a second by Ms. Lane that we pay the bills as presented. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
All right, thank you.
We're down to item D under action items. It is Crabtree and Robot Architects update on location and timelines for the Health Resource Building and Parent Center. Dr. Shannon?
Yes, ma'am. We have, Mr. Joshua Bowers with us, and, he's going to talk to the board about the update of the timeline, the location, everything regarding the Health Resource Center as well as the, Parent Resource Center. You all know that we did walk outside, the building, I guess Friday or so, about a week ago, and then the board members had the same opportunity today to do so, to try to look at a possible site for the Health Resource Center. And so tonight, he'll talk a little bit about that, and then hopefully we can, agree on a site so that we can move forward. Okay, Mr. Bowers.
Thank you, Dr. Shannon. Good evening, board. We're going to give a brief update on the Community Parent Resource Center. We'll talk a little bit about the options for where the student building can be located at this building. So as you're familiar, starting on Project 1, the Community Resource Center, this is the building that is located adjacent to your school board office. There has been a little bit of roof damage over time and allowed water to get into the building, causing some degradation of the flooring. So we are looking at, we are still analyzing all the structural components of this. We feel the shell of the building is still in very good shape. And what we're looking to do is replace the floor, the roof, and all the interior stud walls along with the mechanical and plumbing inside of this building. So again, this is the building that's located directly adjacent to your school board office complex. On the design of the building, we have made a couple of edits, and we were looking at the program since our last discussion, going from right to left. So the entrance of the building would be off of the street side, so that is the parking lot We are looking at making an accessible entrance with a ramp to be able to get to the front door for the community, for parents and students, along with staff. We're looking at having a open kitchenette along with for staff, along with 2 individual toilet rooms, a receiving area, 5 offices, and then if you look at the top of the building, kind of the square at the top, that would be a conference room that can be utilized for both functions in this building and then also functions outside of this building. So we've really worked on the program of this, and we feel this is a pretty solid program to be able to develop the space. So this is the current project cost. So we are a little bit over what the approved budget is. So we are in the process right now of working on some options to develop this to look at alternates for the project, and also look to where we could decrease the cost. There are things that we don't have control over. We do have to replace the roof. We do have to replace the windows, the flooring itself. But as we look at interior finishes, each alternate HVAC systems, lighting systems, we are looking at ways to be able to help to reduce the cost to get us back through that budget, and we'll be working on that over the next 30 days. So project number 2, which is the main reason for discussion tonight, is the Student Health and Education Building, which is here at located at the high school. Last time that we talked, we looked at putting this building adjacent to the baseball and softball fields. So since then, we looked at where could we possibly adjust it to maybe be a little bit better fit from a cost standpoint, and also from a functionality. So this is the location that was originally proposed. You can see off to your left there is the baseball softball field. Really beautiful flat location. I'm from the Charlottesville area, which there is no flat areas in Charlottesville. So I love anywhere where there's flat ground. So looking at the site plan, or the aerial site plan, you can see kind of in the bottom left-hand corner is the baseball and the softball field. Going from left to right is softball and baseball. Remember, we had the building. What we did is we're snuggling a little bit closer to the high school itself. And what that does for us is reduces the amount of line for power, and then also for water and the sewer, because you are on a system with the well and sanitary sewer. So moving it a little bit closer to the building is going to help us from a cost standpoint. The other factor here is to try to make sure that we're maximizing this from an after-hours standpoint for also for athletics. This is an educational building, but we also want to make sure that this is a multifunctional building. So by snuggling a little bit closer, it gets us closer to the tennis courts and also to the football stadium. So the design of the building is about 7,000 square feet. You can see across the top is the purple area. This is kind of the multi-purpose area, which can be used again during day for classes, along with after hours. Going across the bottom, going from left to right. In the blue spaces are the boys and girls, or the men's and women's educational spaces, which can also be utilized as a tea room. One of the things that we changed in the design is having a direct access to go from those spaces right into the toilet rooms, and also from the multi-purpose space to the toilet rooms. What that does is really make it so that you don't have to go outside to be able, whether it's in the purple space or the blue space, you don't have to go outside to be able to use the restroom. We also have the toilet rooms that are back to back to try to maximize our efficiency from a cost and a building standpoint. And then as you look to the right, we have concessions area and then also a laundry room area. What we're trying to do is to put the spaces with the water and the sewer as close to one another as possible. Before I go into option B, actually we talk about that. So let's finish this first. So these are the elevations. What you can see here is that we're looking at trying to bring as much natural daylight in space. I know what you're thinking, Josh. Why are we going to have windows into spaces that we may not want windows? Great question. So all the spaces, like the student spaces, we're going to have those as a frosted glass. That'll be more of a fiberglass. And what that does is 2 things for us. It can allow you to bounce objects off of those without breaking them, gently bouncing objects off of them. But also what that does is allow you to not be able to see into spaces that we may not want folks to be able to see into. So again, we're allowing daylight to come in, but controlled daylight that keeps the privacy of the occupants on the inside. We do have boiling doors, garage doors, on both sides of the large multi-purpose area to allow air to flow through the space. And this was the proposed kind of the massing of the building. And what you see here is just a single gable running down. that this could be a pre-engineered metal building. We are still looking at what is going to be the most cost effective, whether it's pre-engineered metal or whether it's going to be wood truss. Part of this is also is that when we're looking at the size of this building, which is 7,000 square feet, we want to try to make sure it's non-combustible. So the benefits of having a wood building is that the cost of construction is a little less, but when we're looking at the fire separation, you're starting to add costs. So we're balancing all of those as part of the overall design. So this project is just like everything else right now. It's just a little bit over budget. So we are looking at materiality and trying to understand what can we do as far as HVAC, lighting, the shape of the building, looking at the materiality. But we are working on options to be able to bring the cost down to be within our budget or as close to it as possible. That will be both from the design standpoint, and also by creating alternates and saying, can we design the building and have spaces that we can maybe do a little bit more finishing out at a later date. Okay, so this is option A, which is very similar to what we presented, I believe, in March. Does anybody have any questions on this before we kind of hop into option B, which was developed as of last Friday and based off our walkthrough?
Let's see option B.
Okay, so option B is something that is really fresh. We were able to meet last Friday, did a walkthrough. There was a handful of concerns about where the location of the building was to try to make sure that we're maximizing the site and the proximity of all the different athletics from an after-hours standpoint. And we kind of landed on this spot here, which is right between the baseball, which is on your left, and the tennis courts on your right-hand side. There's some really lovely outbuildings, which you see right in front there, that we will be adjusting in location as we go through this, because storage is always important. So looking at the site plan, now what you can see here is that they go from left to right. They have softball, baseball. We're proposing to possibly put the building right in between baseball and the tennis courts. The tennis courts are the blue and orange spaces, and then you see your athletic stadium is just off to your right. What that does is it puts us getting closer to the building. It actually kind of runs us right over top of your sanitary sewer line, and the transformer is right there. So from a utility standpoint, it really does put us in a fantastic spot. The site is also relatively flat. It does sort of drop off a little bit as we're going plan south, which is kind of where that light blue box is. It drops off just a little bit, but it is also a relatively flat site for discussion. So here's some questions that came up at the walkthrough. Gee, Josh, is it possible to snug the multi-purpose room up just a little bit so that we could have a full basketball court in? So we had the width of the purple space, which was multi-purpose, was about 43 feet. So we had to snug it just a little bit wider. What this design allows us to do is put all of those the utility spaces go from left to right. Your concessions, the laundry, the boys and girls educational spaces, which are in dark blue, and then the toilet rooms, as close to the building as possible. So it really kind of puts it along that drive. One of the things that was asked was, is there room for a weight room, or a multi-purpose fitness space? And so that's what we're showing there in the light blue on the bottom of the plan as a possible addition to the building itself. So in the first design, we're looking at about 7,000 square feet. Now we're looking at roughly about 10,300 square feet, in total space with this concept. The other piece that is important is that when we're looking at the ability to play basketball or volleyball, is we also want to raise the height. For some of us, height is not really a problem, but for other folks, you want to make sure that you have enough volume. So with this concept, you'll see the volume of the building change a little bit, and we're raising the roof, especially in that multi-purpose space, to try to get as much function as possible in it. So the elevations, which you see here, is now kind of the building shape from that simple hip, or the simple gable that ran down, to kind of a multi-piece, where we have some opportunity here for some clear story windows to kind of break the building up into multiple pieces. From a simplicity standpoint, I'm going to show you the massive building. So the highest volume there is that multi-purpose room. And so trying to get that minimum of 25 feet, for volleyball and basketball, for that multi-purpose space. On the right-hand side, in that lower roof there is where the concessions, the boys and girls educational spaces, and the toilet rooms. And then all the way on the left-hand side is that weight room or the fitness room space. We are intentionally showing them as 10 separate pieces, so that in the event that we say, hey, Josh, we'd love to have the weight room, but we really can't afford that as right now, so let's kind of do that as so it can be built on as a separate piece. Want to make sure that we have power, and the water and the sanitary for all those functions. Well, let's design this so it's logical, and we can try to maximize our dollars as much as we can. So we're really excited about trying to get as much daylight in the space as possible, especially in this version where we're adding into the multi-purpose room. So now as we're looking at this cost, so we're going from roughly a 7,000 square foot building to a 10,470 square foot. So now this takes us our budget closer to just shy of $2 million. So now you can see our overage over our budget is at 750 is now just about $1 million greater than what our budget is. We are not misunderstanding of where your budgets are, and that's why part of the reason why we have these discussions is we're happy to design and help you build whatever building you want. We just also don't want to say, hey, sure, you can do it for $750, and then it comes in at $1.8 million. You're like, wow, Josh, why didn't you give us a heads up? So before we make promises that we can't fulfill, we want to make sure that everybody understands where we are and where we're not. The super good news is that regardless of the building itself, we can locate either of the options at the location that we're proposing. So whether it's a smaller building or larger building, can be located there. And so we can plan this so that way we can add on pieces and make this as logical as possible, so that way you can say, hey, if we're fortunate and we're able to come up with dollars, that in the future we can either renovate, we can either add to the interior of the space, or we can add another space on and try to make this as a logical basic project. I think that makes sense. So right now we are, I said about a month or so away from ready to go out and do a invitation for bid on the community and parents resource center. This building is a little bit out. So part of it is that we need to make sure we decide where we're going to locate it, and then what can we do to try to get stretch our dollars and design the building so that it's going to be your best function today, and when it gets constructed, and also in the future. I know this is a lot thrown in. Are there any questions or comments that you have on either options A or B for the education building?
Dr. Shannon, what's your thinking, and do you have a recommendation?
It all boils down to the money, if you ask me, and whether or not we have the funding to pay for the overage. And really, that's a discussion that I would need to have with finance. I can't say right now today that we do have the funding for the overage.
Well, I think we can agree, we don't have $2 million.
But it could be, again, I think we need to discuss it. I don't think it's something that I can say today, let's move forward with this or not. If I had to make a recommendation today, it would be for the lesser of the two, because I know that realistically we can fund that, but I would like to talk with finance to see, what we could possibly do to fund the other.
For board members?
I like the location of option B, being more centrally located, and then hopefully puts us closer to utilities to cut down on some costs there. And then on option B, of course, I heard what you said about maybe doing things in segments, and it looks like you could very easily take the weight room component off if you were trying to come in within a budget, because that's actually a whole piece there on the left that if we wanted to come back and build that on, if we were able to raise funds or do things like that. Just from my perspective, I like the location of option B better. Maybe the scale of that.
So let's take this in steps, and let's decide first on whether it's on location. Do we want location A or location B? So, any thoughts about your preference about location?
Maybe option B is just more centrally located for all activities.
Have we reached a consensus then for option B, or, well, probably we need
recommend that we select option B's location, for construction of the building.
So we have a motion by Mr. Rogers, a second by Mr. Smith, that we, select option B in terms of location for the Student Health and Education Building. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Then we have selected option B for the location of the Student Health and Education Building. Now, we need to move on to talk about the design. Do we want to go forward with design A or design B? Design A was the one that had the single, can you go back and show us design A and then show us design B?
So the single D.
That's design A. And that's design B. So which design do we want to pursue? Design A or design B?
Do we know approximately how much it would cost to take off if we did the building without the labor in it first, like Ms. Bum was saying, that we could add that on later? Just to get us a little closer to this, right?
I don't know, because this is, very much the
Right.
administration already, this is really brand new because we've only had a couple of days to put this together, so. So it's about 18 to 2,000 square feet. You know, so, you know, it's probably in the $400,000 number. You know, if I were to kind of just throw out a number, I guess what that would be.
I like option B, if we can look at how we can adjust it, and again, maybe do it with that weight room. I like the option B because it opens it up for community use as well. You know, speaking to what Chris alluded to earlier, that, you know, of course, we can use the academic rooms during the day, but then at night, it opens up the ability for, you know, other people to be utilizing that space as well to be a part.
So should we pursue option B, realizing that we need to get it within budget and knowing that we might have to weed out portions, or we might have to, you know, not have it 25 feet or something, you know, realizing that we might have to make some concessions, but we like the, design better of option B that we are.
When we look at, even if we could possibly pay for the extended ceiling, and we look at doing away with some of those other features and adding them later, then we'll already have the height that we need, and then we'll be able to come back later and add other features. Right? Whatever else we need to support our law.
You're right, because if you don't have the height, you couldn't come back and change that. You're right. So, do we have a motion then to pursue option B?
I move that we pursue option B for the student health and education building, as far as the layout.
Do we have a second? We have a motion by Dr. Tindall, a second by Mr. Scott, that we pursue, option B concerning the design of the Student Health and Education Building. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
No.
We have, any extensions? So let's do a roll call, please.
Mrs. Denise Bond,
Yeah.
Mrs. Cassandra Hobbs. Yes. Dr. Deborah Goodwin.
Yes.
Mr. Brandon Rogers.
No.
Mrs. Donna Roundtree. No. Mr. Gregory Scott.
Yes.
Mr. Christopher Smith Senior.
Yes.
Mrs. Horace Lane.
Yes.
Dr. Jennifer Tindall.
Yes.
So we have 7 yeses to no, so the motion is carried. So we will pursue option B for the design of the Student Health and Education Building. Thank you.
Thank you, great evening.
We're down to item E, which is the Special Education Annual Plan. Dr. Shannon.
Yes, ma'am. Dr. Taylor is coming forward to make that presentation since he's the director of special
Madam Chair, Dr. Shannon, board members, and all assembled. I'm here tonight, I'm gonna present an update on special education right before I do the special education handbook. So we did, this year, we were under the cyclical state review, and we have gotten some preliminary results, but not a whole lot. So our state liaison, her name is Kendra Belcher. We submitted the core special education assessment, which is a tool that we had to enter a lot of data into. We submitted that back in December. And then we had on-site visits the first week in March. We got some feedback back from her on April 4th. The only thing she put so far was that we need to case load, as Mr. Rogers was talking about earlier, and the size of the classes, and also certification of teachers. So we currently have 5 long-term substitutes in special education positions, and by next year we have to fix that. Also, I'm meeting with the schedule with Ms. Belcher once she finishes the complete report. Next, talking about shortages, our school psychologist, we had Ms. Dr. Rhonda Ravenel in September. She left on September the 8th. So since then, we had not had a school psychologist. We talked to divisions next to us, we mailed letters home to parents for the exemption to the 65-day rule, because we have 65 days once we receive a referral to actually have results. So we did do some exemptions. If the parent did not agree, we went ahead and held the meeting anyhow without the school psychological report. We do have a contract with them, I'm sorry. We contracted with Salon in April. Okay. Any questions about that before I go to the annual plan?
I do. If we held the meetings without a school psychologist, how did we have the information, like for the eligibility to move forward?
We did. We had to take the meeting, but we had to hold.
Gotcha, okay.
Yes, ma'am. Any more questions? Okay, so the annual plan, the purpose of this is that the Department of Education requires that each locality develop a plan to receive funding under IDEA, which is the Individuals with Disability Education Act. It ensures compliance with federal regulations. So for the certifications, you can see it there, and the school board approves the plan and the superintendent signs. Local and regional jails, we do have an agreement in place to provide services to students in local and regional jails if the need arises. And so for the implementation narrative, this section just says that we did everything that we needed to do from last year's plan, and we have. Maintenance of effort is the amount that the division has to spend outside of our federal funding in order to maintain our efforts. It is $5.9 million. And Joy works very closely with me on that. Proportionate set-aside funds. So we have to set aside funds for students that are perennially placed in private schools. And for us, it's Southampton Academy, of course. It's not a large amount. It depends on how many students we have. Right now, we have 2 students that are receiving speech services through PSA. And the amount that we set aside is $3,577. That's for 611 and 619 funds, which I'll explain in a second. So 611 funds are called flow-through. These are received from the federal government, and it's used for special education K-12, and it's the larger of the funds. So what we use these funds for are our paraprofessionals. We pay 29 paraprofessionals through 611 funds. And that amount is $665,105. And for pre-K, 619 funds, it's a lower amount, so we're not able to pay any salaries out of this. We use this for early childhood special education, any child findings that we need, pre-K screenings that we do, eligibility meetings for pre-K students. And we also use it for summer staff that we need to come in and do ESY for pre-K. Any questions? I I do need board approval tonight.
Dr. Shannon, what's your recommendation?
I recommend that we approve the, annual plan.
You do have the complete, annual plan in your, included in your school board, documents. Dr. Keller just gave us some of the highlights, but the complete plan, is included. So, what's your pleasure? We have a motion by Ms. Lane, a second by Mr. Scott, to approve the special education annual plan. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
No.
Let's do a roll call vote, please.
Mrs. Denise Vaughn. Mrs. Cassandra Hawes. Dr. Deborah Goodwin.
Yes.
Mr. Brandon Rogers.
Yes.
Mrs. Donna Roundtree. Yes. Mr. Gregory Scott.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Christopher Smith Senior.
Yes.
Mrs. Oris Lane.
Yes.
Dr. Jennifer Tindall.
The ayes have it, so the special education annual plan has been approved.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda is the career and technical education local plan. Dr. Shannon.
Yes, Mrs. Crutchfield is going to make that presentation. Ms. Crutchfield is the supervisor of CTE.
Good evening, Dr. Shannon, Madam Chair, and board members. This evening, I have the opportunity to present you with our Perkins funding and our local plan. We do submit our Perkins funding each year. Typically, this funding goes into ensuring that our students are receiving the necessary opportunities to be able to increase their career readiness skills and their technical skills in our industry. So this year, all right, so, the Perkins funding the Perkins funding is formerly known as the Quality Perkins Vocational and Technical Education Act. It was enacted in 1984, and the most recent updates that we have had to Perkins funding occurred in 2018, in which they enacted the Strengthening Career and Technical Education for the 21st Century Act. The purpose of this funding is to develop more fully the academic knowledge and technical employability skills of our secondary education students and also post-secondary, because we do dual enrollment courses through CTE. And these are for students who elect to enroll in our career and technical education programs or who are interested in a career and technical education plan study. The primary purpose of Perkins funding is to increase quality and access to CTE programs, to support workforce needs by focusing on building relevant workforce skills and competencies for students, to promote innovation by incorporating technology, applied learning, and integrating academic and career-focused curriculum, to ensure equity to all of our students so that every student in our school system has access to a career technical education plan or access to any educational resources that we provide, and to improve our outcomes. And this does impact and some of it does actually impact our accreditation, but we are requiring students to meet performance indicators. So career competencies, graduation rates, skill attainment, and even post-secondary graduation and employment outcomes. So our goals for Southampton High School Career and Technical Education Department are aligned with our Perkins goals. One is to improve academic and technical skills of our students who are participating in CTE programs by strengthening academic and CTE components of those programs. Our goal is to ensure the integration of coherent and rigorous content aligned with challenging academic standards and relevant CTE programs. 2, we want to provide students with strong experience in understanding all aspects of the industry. So for example, if we have a student who is in culinary, we don't want them to just go into one culinary class. We want them to come out with a national certification that they can apply when they go out into the industry. And then we also want to ensure that students who participate in those programs have a rigorous curriculum and have content that is going to be aligned with what we consider to be industry standards, and also that are aligned with the standards that Virginia Department of Education has required of us. We also, our goal is to encourage CTE students at the secondary level to continue to enroll in rigorous and challenging courses, not only in career technical education, but also in their core classes as well. It may also include an opportunity for secondary education students to participate in dual enrollment. And here recently, this school year, we have added in dual enrollment for forestry, which is a great program. So in addition to that dual enrollment, other ways they may also be able to acquire any post-secondary education credits, which comes with dual enrollment. And then students should be leaving or should always be graduating with a school diploma, a certification, a state licensure, some sort of occupational competency skill, and it could be at the secondary level. And then we also would like for them to make sure that they've got an industry recognized credential or certificate at a post-secondary level. And in these cases also it can lead to associate or a bachelor's degree. All right, so for career and technical education, the funded activities that are allowed in the grant are going to be for professional development. We would like for our teachers to be able to participate in more career and technical education workshops. For example, our VTI conference, the Virginia Association of Trade and Industrial Educators, is a conference that occurs every summer, and it is designed so that our teachers can get a update on all of the things that are going on in CTE in their area, and also to communicate and collaborate with others across the state. Also, activities with special populations, including non-traditional students. Our goal is to provide opportunities for students with special populations to gain more exposure to non-traditional careers through workplace readiness. We are looking at STEM educational field trips. Students are going to competitions and trainings in an effort to increase the number of CTE completers who earn a standard or advanced degree. And then state-approved equipment. The majority of our funding goes into state equipment, which means that we are purchasing equipment based on the instructional needs of the students, based on the instructional needs of the program. So the vast majority of those funds are allocated after we spend our local funding. So we do have local funding available in the very, very beginning, and this usually goes to, usually utilized for program improvement, and to enhance any existing programs that we have. Any questions?
Any questions? Again, the complete application is included in your school board documents. Ms. Crutchfield just gave us an overview, but any questions?
Make a motion to approve the plan.
We have a motion by Mr. Smith. A second by Ms. Bunn, that we approve the career and technical education plan. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Then we have approved the career and technical education local plan. Thank you, Ms. Crutchfield.
Thank you.
The next item on the agenda is the summer school proposal. Dr. Anderson.
Yes, ma'am. Mrs. Kelly Gillette and Mrs. Rachel will come forward and we'll talk about the, summer school year.
Good evening, Dr. Goodwin, Dr. Shannon, board members, and all present. It's a pleasure to be with you this evening. We're going to look at the summer school summer success proposal for this summer. So I have the PowerPoint printed, but I also have an updated as well, and I'll try to follow along with both. So the purpose of our summer school is to provide an opportunity for teachers to address the learning gaps in the areas of reading and math and expand their academic skills in the core content areas that reflect our curriculum and the Virginia Standards of Learning. Also provide opportunities for students to recover credit for courses they did not pass during the regular school year, and provide students with opportunities to take new additional classes for credit. Students are strongly encouraged to attend daily, in-person summer learning and provide students with a chance for remediation, enrichment, and grade improvement. Transportation will be available for all in-district students. Also, with attendance in your plan, you'll see that students can only miss one day of summer school, more than one day in there, and they will not be able to pass. Student eligibility. You can see that any student that scores below 400, which means they did not pass their SOL, is eligible to participate in summer school. Students who are retained in a grade or class, they've not mastered the content. Students that are identified in need of a program of prevention and remediation and intervention to improve their academic skills. Students who perform below grade level in reading and math, and students that are below grade level and have not mastered the minimum proficiency of the standards of learning, the VALS assessment, and any other standardized assessment, including the local benchmark. The building principal may recommend students, and students can also come if they would like to. So for Southampton Elementary and Middle School, of course, we'll have the prescribed curriculum, guided and direct instruction, individualized skills in reading and mathematics, the small group instruction, and in-person instruction. The high school, the courses were based on student need and teacher availability, direct instruction, free tuition for Southampton students, credit recovery, new courses to get ahead, and retaking the SOLs, and of course, in-person instruction. The teacher schedule will have one day of teacher professional development, or work day on June 20th, and they'll have a work day at the end of summer school and come back on July 29th. We wanted to have that last day for teachers to come back to analyze the data and put it forth for the upcoming year to share with teachers for the students moving from one grade to another. Elementary schools, the teachers will attend from 8:30 to 2, middle school 7:30 to 1, high school, of course, the 2 sessions, 7:30 to 1 and 1 to 5:30, doing Monday through Thursday. Student schedules, they'll begin on Monday, June 24th, and it'll run through Thursday, July 25th. Elementary schools will have the tier bus system, so it'll be 9 to 1:30, and the middle school will be 8 to 12:30. If a high school only does one session, they're able to ride that bus home at 12:30. And the high school also have a bus route going home from 1 to 5:30. That would be Monday through Thursday. I did want to share a little bit of data from last year's summer school. We did, and we plan on doing again this year, we're going to use the IXL diagnostic test. And students took that in math and in reading. They took it at the beginning and they took it at the end. And as you see here, what you'll see is it says number of questions, and I know it says fifth and fourth grade had 0. That just means they used IXL for the pre and post test, but they didn't use IXL during their teaching time during summer school. But you can see that 8th grade math had 42% positive growth and 95% positive growth in reading, and 7th grade 100% in math, 35% in language. I'm just gonna stay on math first. Kindergarten had 63, 42 for first grade, 44 for second. 3rd grade had 33, 22 for 4th grade, and 5th grade had 17, 6th grade 38. And then in your English language arts, we had 44% in kindergarten, 23% first grade, 2nd grade had 52%, 62% for 3rd grade, 4th grade 44, 5th grade 33, and 87% for 6th grade. 7th grade had 35%. For our high school, we had 90 participants. 82 of those students passed the course they took for summer school. And a highlight of the summer school was, of the 20 students that took Algebra 1, 17 of those passed their SOL during the summer. And I know it went pretty fast, and I know the plan is much bigger, so if you have any questions, please let me know.
The full plan was included in your documents, board packets. Any questions though on what was just presented?
I have a question. You said one day you can't get there one day, is that on all levels?
Yes. If they have 20 days, if they miss more than one day, they're missing the vital instruction to be able to be promoted. Now, they can come for remediation and success and everything, continue to come, but if they're coming to be promoted to the next grade level, then they need to attend every day, only missing one.
Any other questions?
For students who are taking classes to get the advanced,
Yes.
they don't pay either?
No.
Additional questions?
I have a question about the staff salaries.
Yeah.
Who serves as a principal in the elementary school? Is that?
It will be, we don't have currently 12-month employees for elementary. If an elementary principal wanted to serve, they could. And we put out a survey, interest survey, and you can apply for all of the roles that you see on there. And in the past, we've had teachers that are going forth in a leadership role that wish to serve for experience. And that goes, then I can pull up, Anisha, I'm sure she won't mind, Anisha Warren. She served as elementary principal before, and now, of course, she's principal at Riverdale, and she appreciated the experience.
And then the secretary, is that someone different than the school secretary?
If the school secretary is 12-month, then they do not get paid double.
Okay.
If they're 12-month, that is their pay.
Usually there's a person who serves as summer school secretary who is not a 12-month employee. This is what she's saying.
No, I just, there are schools that do not have a 12-month secretary.
Correct. Any other questions? Do we have a motion to approve? Have a motion by Mr. Scott.
Second.
A second by Ms. Lane. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Then we have approved the summer school proposal for 2024. Thank you.
Thank you.
The next item on the agenda would be the proposed calendars, academic and 12-month employee calendars for the 24-25 school year. Dr. Shannon.
Yes, in your packet, you all have copies of the academic calendar as well as the 12-month employee calendar. On the academic calendar, we are proposing that teachers work 192 days, and new teachers will work 194 days. They have 2 2 additional days for orientation. Our students will receive 182 days of instruction, and our teachers are contracted for 200 days. And if you look, you'll see the legend where you have the heart is for holidays, you know, the little diamonds for staff days and so forth. These symbols have not changed throughout the years. And if you'll follow those symbols and then look at the legend or key at the top, you can tell what each one of those stands for. There are several professional development days included in the calendar. The week of August the 19th through the 20th is new teacher orientation. August 21st through the 29th is professional development work days. January the 28th is a professional development work day, and June 16th and 17th are work days. And of course, you see the dates for the report cards, early dismissal, parent-teacher conferences, and high school graduation for next year will be June 14th. If you'll look at the information for the 12-month employees, 12-month employees work 246 days, and this does not include the Fridays that they are off in the summer. In the summers, we work 10-hour days, which is 4 days a week, and we're off on Fridays. There are 14 holidays in the 12-month employees calendar, and those holidays are Independence Day, Labor Day, Election Day, Thanksgiving break, winter break, Martin Luther King Day, President's Day, spring break, Memorial Day, and Juneteenth. All staff will return to school on August the 21st, and new teacher orientation starts August the 19th, and it's from the 19th through the 20th.
Any questions about the calendar, the proposed calendar?
I have one. So we're at 182 days, and I know we've got options of 990 hours or 180 days as our minimum standard. Did we look at going back on the number of days that we've got in the calendar? And I'm thinking this around two things. Really the amount of additional tutoring that we're offering on Saturdays, as well as our employee retention piece. I know that, you know, we just talked about earlier that we weren't going to be able to give some of the same increase that we were looking for. Is that an opportunity to look at how many days we're having the teacher work out of that contract?
Well, let me give you some background a little bit. We moved to 182 days. One, because my feeling and the feeling of the board has been that you don't address learning gaps by decreasing learning opportunities. So that was one reason we put in the 2 additional days. The second reason we put in the 2 additional days is that sometimes we're impacted by weather conditions, so that if there's a late school opening or there's an adverse event going on, weather event and students leave early, we don't want to get in a position where we have to start counting hours for instruction. You know, so if there's a snow day or something, we don't have to worry about making it up. So that's why we have the 2 additional days in there, and that's historically why they've been there. So to address learning loss and to build in days so we won't have to worry about make-up days unless we get past 2 days.
And do we know how many hours are included in the 182?
I don't know off the top of my head, no.
So I don't know the hours, but again, if we talk about learning loss, we don't want to offer the minimum number of hours because we will never address learning loss if we teach to the minimum. So we say we only have to have 990 hours of instruction. We only provide 990 hours of instruction. Then when do we address learning loss, and how do we adapt to learning loss if we are only going to provide minimal instruction? So that was why we didn't go the minimum 180 days.
Are the school reviews as old?
No.
For a reason they have to go.
Because election day should be a holiday. So because we want to encourage people to vote, and because we take voting seriously, then we give election day as a holiday. Any additional questions or comments?
Is there a committee that puts the calendar?
Yes, received like survey responses from the staff, and they submitted four calendars with various suggestions.
So these are the calendars that you recommend?
So I'll say yes, but I will add that with the BLA, the Literacy Act, that there may be some room for us to include professional development or really take a look at our professional development days based on the amount of work that's included with the new Virginia Literacy Act. We do have professional development days already included in the calendar, and we have had discussion about what will occur during those professional development days. Whether we'll continue to do what we've traditionally done, or if we will, morph into more literacy training during those professional development days. But yes.
Okay, so Dr. Shannon is recommending the adoption of these two calendars, and I think what she's talking about is what might go on those professional development days in terms of content, and maybe how to deliberate, but these would be the calendar. Any other questions?
No, I have a suggestion, for next year, obviously, if we're getting too late, the board be presented with two options, or something like that, so we can choose as opposed to just having one option. And potentially having a board member on the committee does the calendar. Just like we do some of the other ones, that have people from the board, as opposed to waiting until now.
Thank you for your suggestion. Any other questions? Do we have a motion to approve? So we have a motion by Mr. Smith. The second by Mr. Scott to approve the academic calendar and the 12-month employee calendar as presented. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
Any abstentions? The ayes have it, the calendars are approved. We have several field trip requests. Dr. Shannon.
Sure. The first field trip request is for FBLA to travel to Orlando, Florida, June the 29th through July the 3rd. And this is for our students to participate in a national competition. It's 10 students who will participate, and the fee for them attending is $10,976, which includes transportation, admission, and hotel. And 3 adults will chaperone this trip. And our students have traditionally participated in the national competition for FBLA. So I do recommend it.
We can vote on it separately. Any questions about the FBLA trip to participate in the national competition?
Just a quick, are they raising money for this?
Ma'am?
Are they raising money for this?
They do. They try. They may not raise it all, but they do work to try to raise some funds.
Do we have a motion to approve?
I move that we accept this report. Field trip request.
I have a motion by Ms. Lane.
Second.
The second by Mr. Rogers. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Any extensions? Thank you. Then we have,
Yes, next we have an out-of-state field trip to Chowan University on June 1st. And this field trip is for our members of our football team. They anticipate taking 25 members of the football team. The cost is $40 for admission, and transportation cost is $131.78, which will be paid for out of the high school budget or the athletic budget. Okay, all right, the next trip is for our football team, members, 25 members of the football team, to go to Chapel Hill, North Carolina. And again, they will go for exposure, and to also, have, I guess, receive experience, with football camps. I will vouch to the fact that a number of our athletes who have attended some of these exposure camps, that they have received college scholarships. So this particular trip, again, is Chapel Hill, North Carolina. They'll take 25 students, and the cost for this particular trip is $273.98 again, which will be paid for out of the high school budget or athletic funds. And then the last trip for some of our football players and student athletes is to Murfreesboro, North Carolina, and we'll take 20 students. The cost of that trip is $212 to be paid out of the high school budget or athletic budget, and the date of the trip is June 8th to Murfreesboro and June 5th to Chapel Hill.
I want to thank the coaching staff of the football program for being willing to give up their time as well on Saturdays and do different things like this, but I think that the exposure for our children is invaluable, so I make a motion.
Have a motion by Ms. Bond, second.
I do have a question. So two of the trips are to Chowan, but they're different costs. Transportation, it looks like it's $4 each time.
It is too.
What am I missing?
They have two different groups.
One bus for each one. It's going for the same, what is the time frame also?
One is a 7-on-7 camp, one is an exposure camp, but there's a difference in time duration that the football team is down there. One of them is going to be a little bit shorter. The other one, the 7-on-7 camp, is going to be the duration of the day.
So we're not paying much for grass watch.
That answer your question, Ms. Bond? So you did have a motion and a second. Any other questions before we vote? So all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Then we have approved the out-of-state field trip request to Shawan on June 1st, UNC Chapel Hill on June 5th, and Bethel Shawan on June 8th. Thank you. The, Ms. Artist has for you some information on the superintendent evaluation. That's the last action item, I think, for us tonight. The Code of Virginia requires that school boards evaluate the superintendent annually, but that evaluation has to be consistent with the performance standards and objectives set forth in the guidelines of uniform performance standards and evaluation criteria for teachers, administrators, and superintendents. Now, the Code of Virginia also, in addition to saying that it has to be consistent with those guidelines, the Code of Virginia says that the evaluation has to include student academic performance, and it has to include an overall summative grading for the superintendent. So those are the requirements. So what you have in your packet, you're probably already familiar with this, you have a copy of the guidelines that were approved in March of 2022. These are the latest guidelines. In the past, Southampton has used the forms included in the performance standards, and you do have those forms there. Now, a couple of things I want to point out about the revised guidelines, if you haven't looked at them or attended one of the workshops on superintendent evaluation. One is that the new standards include a new standard, so there are now 8 standards instead of 7. Because of legislation, there was a standard added to evaluate cultural competence insufficient, developing needs improvement, or unacceptable. But now the ratings are highly effective, approaching effective, and ineffective, so that's a change. And you will also notice that the wording for a few of the standards has been changed. But those 8 performance standards are strategic leadership, planning and assessment, instructional leadership, organizational leadership and resource management, communication and community relations, culturally responsive and equitable division leadership, professionalism, and division-wide student academic progress. So, according to the guidelines, school boards must evaluate superintendents on those 8 performance standards. So, those 8 standards must be included in the evaluation. Now, according to the guidelines, you do have some sample performance indicators, and school boards can tweak or add to or take away at the indicator level, but school boards cannot change the standards. In the past, Southampton has weighted student academic progress more heavily than the other standards. In the past, we have rated student academic progress as like 40% of the superintendent's evaluation. But according to these revised guidelines, then that the weighting can count equally. The new standards say that student academic performance cannot be the least weighted, but all standards can be weighted equally. So, two things that I want us to look at tonight concerning this evaluation. The first thing we need to look at is the rating, not the rating scale, the weighting, whether or not we want all items to count the same, or whether or not we want to weight student academic performance more heavily, as we have done in the past. If you look at what is numbered page, I think it's page 48, maybe, no. If you look at what's numbered page 53, in the big handout that Ms. Artis just handed you, you can see there that there in that sample, everything, each standard is weighted equally. Each standard is weighted 1.25. Now, each standard has to be weighted at least 1. So do we want to weight all standards equally, or do we want to rate, continue to rate student academic performance more heavily than the other standards? I guess that's the question for discussion. We say that student academic performance is one of the major goals of Southampton County School Board, and for that reason, we have weighted more heavily student academic performance because it's been one of the major focus areas of the board. So do we want to continue to rate it more heavily, or are we more inclined to rate each standard equally?
Rating each one of them equally is probably, and I understand that, wanting that academic achievement, but the other 7 standards all lead into academic achievement. They're meeting all of those standards. So I don't necessarily think we just weight any of them more heavily than another one, because they're all so closely tied together.
I concur with that, though.
I would agree, if you're doing well on the other 7, the 8 is gonna fall into place, so.
Any other comments, thinking? I think we reached consensus then that we will rate each standard at 1.25. Okay, so the other thing we need to look at would be the meetings that to come up with this evaluation. So we need to have, several special meetings. So let me, sort of spell them out for you and try to explain them to you. So tonight, at our regular meeting, you have the performance evaluation criteria, a hard copy. It's also available on the BDOE website, it's available on the VSBA website, but I don't know about you, but I like a paper copy. So I thought you want a paper copy too, as opposed to just looking at it on the screen. So that's why you have a big copy, but it's not hard to access online, either through BDOE or VSBA, or if you just Google superintendent evaluation, it's certainly gonna come up. Okay, so in order to evaluate the superintendent, though, there's several things we need to do, or to evaluate her effectively. So we do need to have a meeting where the board and the superintendent can meet, so we can come together. The superintendent can complete a self-evaluation, and then the board would do its formative assessment of the superintendent. And you can see that I see in the packet that you got from Ms. Artist, there's a form that's called superintendent formative assessment. So if we set a date when we can meet with the superintendent, she can fill out her self-assessment, we can fill out our formative assessment, and then we can have a meeting. And the reason for doing this is so that we can generate some dialogue between the board and the superintendent concerning what we would consider as performance indicators for each of the standards. Now, my thinking is that we need to do that meeting in May. So, is there, if you look at your schedules, is it possible for us to meet either May 20th or May 21st to do that, to have that special meeting? And it will be a closed session meeting. And like I said, at that meeting, the superintendent will bring in her self-evaluation, we'll bring in our formative assessments, we can have a conversation, talk about where we are, what our thinking is. So if you look at your schedules, would May 20th or 21st work? Any preferred date, any dates that won't work?
20th works, 21st.
20th works, okay. So look at your schedule, May 20th work for everybody, I think that's a Monday, right? Okay, well, Monday, May 20th work for everybody. And we can meet at 6 p.m. in the library. Here, so we'll meet at 6 p.m. on Monday, May 20th in the library. And it will be a closed session. We will have a meeting, we'll immediately go into closed session to discuss the superintendent's formative evaluation. Now, we also need to schedule another special meeting because the superintendent needs to share with us or present to us her documentary evidence to show us how she thinks that she's met each of the 8 standards. So we need to set aside the time when she can make a presentation and present and or share in a written form her documentary evidence for each of the standards. And we need to do that, I would think, in June, towards the end of June, maybe. So is there a date? When is graduation? Okay, so is there, if you look at like June 23rd or something on your calendar, so or a couple of days after graduation, maybe like the 20th or 19th. I mean, it doesn't have to be on a Monday.
I'm out of town the week of the 17th.
Okay, so what about the next week? So what date, like the 20, would the 23rd, 24th work for you? 24th. So the 25th would work for you, Ms. Hobbs? You know what? June twenty-sixth. You're looking at your schedules.
Okay, just 1 second.
With that,
While everybody's looking at this, is there, what's the reasoning behind doing our evaluations before we have any of that documentation?
because I want us to talk about what we would consider performance indicators for each standard. Because otherwise, if we wait until after the document, it's too late for her to know that Dr. Bell expected to see this and I put in this.
Gotcha, okay, thank you.
That was gonna be my question, I was going to talk about what each statement means.
Yes,
Because all of us are reading and read something else.
right. And those of us who are having a meeting so that we can agree on what the expectations are, what it means.
So we say the 26th, Wednesday, the 26th of June?
Well, I think Ms. Rogers taking the schedule.
I'll be out the 25th and 26th, I could do the 27th or 28th.
Okay, the 27th.
Sorry.
Look at your schedules for June 27th.
I'm okay those days.
Say that again, Elaine.
I'm good any of those days, I've got stuff off, I'm good. Rub it in.
Maybe 6 o'clock,
Yes, 6 o'clock in the library.
June 27th, 6 o'clock.
So June 27th at 6 p.m. But then after the superintendent, after we receive the superintendent's documentation of her evidence, then we do need to fill out the summative evaluation, the way we do it in Southampton County. So each board member completes an evaluation. You give those evaluations to the board chair. The board chair tallies and will make a composite evaluation, and then we meet with the superintendent to discuss that composite evaluation. So then we need a date in early July by which you can give to me your summative superintendent evaluations. So is there,
We need to have that before that meeting.
well, we need to have it before we meet with the superintendent to do her final evaluation that we need to do by mid-July. So if the superintendent presents the information to us on the 27th, then I'm asking, when can you do your summative evaluation? Can you do it, let's say, over the weekend? I mean, how long? I don't know how long it takes you to get it done. You know, if we meet on the 27th, can you have it done by the 30th? By June 30th?
Could we do like July 3rd, that's that next Wednesday, because it's just short.
Can you have it done by July 3rd? And this is just submitting your evaluation, and what I'm gonna ask you to do is to leave them at the school board office for Ms. Artis.
There's no meeting attached.
There's no meeting, it's just turning in a form to Ms. Artis on July the 3rd, by July the 3rd. And if you turn them in to Ms. Artis on July the 3rd, which is a Wednesday, by Friday, which is July the 5th, I will have available that composite document. And again, working through Ms. Artis, you will get the composite evaluation. The composite evaluation will be available on July 5th.
It's a holiday. I was gonna say that the 4th is the holiday for July 4th, and then the office.
Okay, so you wanna make it, the 8th?
Yeah, the 8th is our school board meeting anyway.
Yeah.
Okay, so July 8th. That's even better, you can bring I can distribute the composite on July 8th. Okay. So I will distribute the composite, evaluation on July 8th. And then the next week, we need to have a meeting with, or later that week, we need to have a meeting with the superintendent to discuss that, final evaluation. I think that the, discussion will go too long to do it on our regular board meeting night, so I'd like for us to have a special meeting devoted solely to discussing that, summative evaluation, so we can do it later that week if you want to. If you want to do it like that, Wednesday or Thursday, the 10th or 11th, or do you want to carry over to the next week?
Carry over, I'll be at a conference in Nashville.
Okay. So can we meet on July 15th? Is everybody available for a special meeting on July 15th? Please check your calendars.
July 15th?
Yes.
I'll play golf all day.
Please come in for a meeting at 6. Yes, 6 p.m. Okay. So then let's go with dates that we have, make sure we're all agreed. Then we'll have a special meeting on May the 20th. We'll have a special meeting on June the 27th. We will have, you will have your, evaluations to me on July the 3rd, or you have your summative evaluation completed by July 3rd. I'll have the composite evaluation available on, for our regular board meeting, which is July 8th. And then we'll have a special meeting on July 15th. The special meetings are at 6 p.m. You know that our regular meeting, is at 7 p.m.
Just to make sure, the good ones, the evaluation is due
By July 3rd, end of business on July 3rd. And you just drop it off with Ms. Artis. You just drop it off with Ms. Artis on July 3rd. I'll pick them up from her. And then, when we have our board meeting on the 8th, I'll share with you the composite evaluation. Then we'll meet the next week to discuss the evaluation. So I would appreciate a motion to, approve this calendar for the superintendent evaluation.
So moved.
We have Ms. Roundtree?
Fun.
No, Bond. We have a motion by Ms. Bond. We have a second. A second by Ms. Hobbs to approve the superintendent evaluation dates. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor, please say aye. Any opposed? Thank you. And Ms. Artis will get out the necessary notifications about the special meetings. We have some information items. So the first information item should be the SOL date, Dr. Stanton.
Ms. Kelly is going to come forward and talk about the SOL date, and then we'll go on to talk about the Literacy Act, and then, Ms. Kelly will comment review. So it's tag team is mine.
Hello again. Wanted to share the calendar with you, the SOL dates. So you'll see that in the pink, highlighted pink, you'll see 5th grade science on the 16th. We have all of the elementary reading on the 21st, 22nd, and 23rd. 5th grade math will be on the 29th. And then the next week we'll have 3rd grade math on the 4th, 4th grade math on the 5th, and then we'll finish out the elementary with Virginia Studies on the 6th. Of course, we'll have expedited retakes after that. And then looking at the purple, you'll see the first SOL will be on the 21st, which will be civics. All of reading will be on the 23rd, all math on the 31st, and physical science will be on the 29th. Then we have highlighted in yellow, you'll see that we have English 11 on the 21st, all of history will be on the 22nd, all of math on the 23rd, and then science on the 24th. And then CTE testing will take place June 4th through the 6th.
Good evening, Dr. Goodwin, Dr. Shannon, board members, and all present. We have several updates on the Virginia Literacy Act. A great deal of information has been provided by BDOE over the last month or so, and we would like to keep you informed as information is released and we prepare for full implementation in the 24-25 school year. Our expanded VLA Leadership Committee met via Zoom on April 22nd. We provided the team with a Google folder full of materials, information, and documentation from BDOE. The supplemental and intervention program lists have been approved by the BDOE. Both of those lists, titled Intervention Instructional Program Guide and Supplemental Instructional Program Guide, are provided on the BDOE website. It covers the grade levels that those programs cover, as well as components of literacy for each grade level, strengths and challenges of each program, and if it does or does not meet Virginia Literacy Act expectations. The student reading plan template has also been approved by the BDOE. Reading specialists are currently they're taking their module on the student reading plans, and they have been shared that the student reading plans should involve a team, including the parent. And we discussed the classroom teacher being involved as well as the reading specialist. The reading specialists are required to write them, but they have recommended that there be a team involved in writing that plan. Our SCPS team of 7 attended session 3 of the network implementation series hosted by BDOE on April 29th, and the BDOE provided guidance on successful implementation of HQIM, which is high quality instructional materials, and they also discussed de-implementation as well. Evidence-based literacy instruction and science-based reading research training will be provided for our principals on June 27th in Chesapeake. The BDOE registration link was sent to principals on May 6th. The VLA requires that educators complete training to implement the reading science shifts outlined in the statute. BDOE is contracting with UVA to offer that training at no cost to local school divisions to meet the requirements of the legislation. This training requires teachers to complete 9 Canvas modules and possibly a live Zoom training each month. As you can see in this table, this is provided by the BDOE, and these are the training modules by certification area. All teachers are required to complete these modules, even if they don't teach reading. And the goal is that all teachers become teachers of reading. This is an additional table provided by the BDOE, and this gives the audience the estimated rollout date. Each training has 9 modules, and it also provides the amount of hours that it will take to complete each module. The reading specialists have already begun this work. They went to a 2-day training in September, and then they have completed modules once a month. This entire school year, they are expected to complete those modules at the end of this school year. And they are currently taking the K-3 reading specialist training. On this slide and the next is our literacy vision developed by our team of 7. The BDOE provided 3 sample vision. We liked the structure of one, so we brought it back, and the team worked on it together and came up with this version of the vision. The vision is student-centered, and it involves all stakeholders. Our vision, like the VLA, is based on science-based reading research and evidence-based literacy instruction. Go to the second slide. That's the first part of the vision, and then this is the second part. The second part shows how the students will be provided literacy instruction that is evidence-based and science-based. The entire VLA Leadership Committee attended a division level VLA implementation workshop this past Thursday, May 9th. We gathered ideas and suggestions from the team for the division literacy plan that is due on July 1st to the VDOE. We have a working document of the plan that all teachers and all staff members that are on that team are able to provide input prior to us pulling it over to the template. Additional topics that we discussed were a list of stakeholder groups, communication timeline, communication plan, assessing division level progress, student reading plans with parent involvement and partnerships in literacy development. On this slide are additional topics discussed at the workshop. We are requesting that our elementary principals create literacy schedules that have a 90-minute block minimum of uninterrupted reading instruction with an additional 30-minute block for word study instruction. We discussed grading and report cards aligned to the Virginia Literacy Act. The curriculum team plans to provide guidance on grading and report cards. We also discussed monthly staff development and support cohesive to the VDOE VLP modules mentioned previously. And then we also asked for recommendations on how to support our teachers and staff. As you can see, this is a wealth of information. We expect to get even more information at our upcoming network implementation series meeting this Thursday, and that will take place at Hampton from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m.
I'm going to finish this out with some VDOE updates with the standards of learning. The VDOE on August 31st, 2023 adopted the 2023 mathematics standards of learning, and they will be fully implemented this upcoming school year. And below that, I've just listed, oops, I went too far. Just listed some facts from the VDOE, their focus of what they're looking for when they wrote the standards. For English, they just approved the 2024 standards for English on March 28th, and they will also be implemented in the upcoming school year. For history and social sciences, they did approve the 2023 history standards on April 30th of last year, 20th of last year, but they will not be implemented until the 25-26 school year. And just to keep you up to date on the science, currently we have the 2018 standards that we've been using for a couple of years, so it's not quite ready, but the VDOE wanted to get a head start on it, so they're already talking about in May of 2025 to introduce the new standards, have a crosswalk in 26-27, and then have a full implementation year of 27-28. Those are updates.
Any questions?
I have a question about social studies. Have we shifted the courses for social studies down according to that new?
That's something we're looking at. You're talking about Virginia Studies moving it down to 4th grade. so fourth grade has 3 tested areas and fifth grade has 3 tested areas. And that way, it would also, because there's only civics tested at the middle school, so that would help as well. So that is in discussion, it's ongoing.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
So we're down to item C, which is the maintenance operations and transportation report. Dr. Shannon.
Yes, ma'am, Mr. Melby is coming forward with that report.
All right, good evening again. Real quick, I know a couple of concerns were raised, so that we will be addressing this in a bigger context with the next presentation we have here. But time and capacity on the bus, anytime we do get a concern raised within the department, we do address it as quickly as possible and get to the root of what caused it and how we can alleviate it. Again, you've got an extensive list of the work orders that have been completed over the last month that you guys can peruse at your leisure. But then we can get to the next one bill to address the bus situation. Mr. Vincent, Emmanuel Vincent is our transportation supervisor within the division. He came to us in September. And he's learning the county, and I mean, he's a resident from Boykins, correct? So he's the northern half of the county. He's getting some education up there. Yeah. So just kind of want to look ahead because of issues that we've had with working at a driver deficit the entire year. So we wanted to go in, and Mr. Vincent and I, we sat down, we looked at the routes, we looked at where the kids were, we looked at loads on the buses, and wanted to see what we could come up with as a solution, as a remedy. And also, we took in a request to find what it would look like to do 3 tiers, and also if we just ran one bus into a neighborhood, picked everybody up, took them to their elementary school, took them to their secondary school, in the same way with that going on. But right now, we have 25 buses at the high school that run every day. They are 23 full-size routes. We have 2 auxiliary routes that run, and we also have one that's dedicated just to the YMCA. At Capron, there are 4 full-size with 1 small special needs bus. Same thing at Heron for the 4 full-size with 1 van heading to the Y for daycare. At Nottoway, it is 5 full-size buses and 2 small buses, 1 is special needs and 1 runs to the daycares for GLA and sadly the Gingerbread House and the YMCA. At Riverdale, there are 11 full-size buses with 1 of those being dedicated just to the daycare stops at high school, GLA, YMCA, and Gingerbread House. So one of the issues that we've been looking at this year of getting all of our routes covered is that we have 5 of our 1-tier drivers, people who are only contracted for 1, every day they're running the second route. And also Mr. Vincent and Kenny out of the garage, they drive on a regular basis just so that we're able to cover all of our runs that we have on a daily basis. And a 2-tier impact, what we look at, because we end up having kids that if there's any type of delay in the secondary, if we have to combine a route, if we have any kind of adjustment or problem in that high school route, it impacts the elementary. Because at each elementary, you've got all the drivers at Capron, 4 out of 5 at Maharon, 3 out of 4 at Nottoway, and 8 of the 11 at Riverdale, all drive a high school route. So if there is any type of impact on those windows that some of them get tight, it's pushing them back. And if a driver is subbing at the high school in one area or subbing at the elementary in one area, and they have a 15-20 minute dead-end ride from their last high school drop to get to the elementary school. So we see an impact that way of our buses departing way later than what we'd like. So what did we come up with? We put our heads together And we were able to find 3 routes that we could reduce at the high school by combining routes. We had some that were overlapping where kids had moved, things over time where we had buses. The one that sticks out to me is on Black Creek, where you've got one bus picking up on the further west part, one bus on the further east part, and they're crossing each other to get to those kids. So we were able to look at those, look at our stops, use the GPS to figure out where we could make adjustments at. Maharon saw a reduction, we were able to disperse one of those. Nottoway, we were able to combine 2 of their routes so we could knock one of theirs down. And then at Riverdale, we had 2 routes identified where we could combine them. And then also, if we decided that we were not going to transport any specialty runs, we could eliminate 1 bus on that as well. Going to a 3-tier system, the current bell times right now at the high school and middle school are 7:30 to 2:30 with those 23 buses, and the elementary 8:45 to 3:45 with 24 buses. So if we proposed and switched to a 3-tier, we could split up the elementary schools, and that would give us time where it would eliminate that deadhead time that the issues we're having of getting to some of these far out reaches within the county. And we could cut down on the number of buses that are 1 on the road, and 2, any of them that are running into late for delays, because they would not have, or they would have a bigger window to get to their first pickups, or from their last drop-off back to the elementary school. Did have a slight impact on the school times to let this happen. 8:15 to 3:15, and looking at the schools that were assigned on here, they were chosen that way because Cape Breton and Nottoway, we've got some further out pieces, and we'd be able to utilize a single-tier driver to take care of those long ones, but also we're able to utilize them in that spot a little more efficiently. But if, through discussion, if it's something that we, you as a board, or that we find in transportation that would prefer any type of rotation of the schools, that's definitely a talking point for sure. But then the second one, 9 to 4 o'clock. So it's not an immense change to the scheduling. It's a half-hour bump each way, and 15 minutes on that on the second set of elementary schools, 15 minutes later. So we cut down where it's no longer an hour and a half in between runs. Now we're getting to 45 minutes, and we believe that doing that, we would cut down on time. Buses are on the road, kids are on the road, and get them there. And the last one was the all grade levels on a single bus. And divided the county east and west, trying to find the best way to get us divided up. Because you'd have half of those drivers keeping on the west half to go to Cape Breton and go to Maharon, and on the eastern half to service Riverdale and Nottoway, because those are the schools that have the most overlap areas. The bell times, now, doing this, if we would do it, the elementary schools would have to open their doors a little bit earlier than the secondary, and they would have to either provide free before school care, tutorial services, or begin instruction earlier, and then you would shift to having after school care for them until it's time to get picked up. The issue would be is that it would end up with some backtracking, because if we dismiss here at the high school and we travel to the elementary school, many kids are going to have their stops passed to get to that elementary school. So they got to go all the way to the elementary school and then come all the way back down or back across to their stop. So that would it would make us a little less efficient in doing things that way, is what we discussed. Possible bell times, again, the elementary would be earlier in the morning of coming in the building, because they would be first pass by, and they would be getting out 15 minutes after in the afternoon, because it would take us, from here to drive to Maharon, Nottoway, and Riverdale is between 12 and 18 minutes. Cape Breton's 3 down the road. But just giving that buffer in the afternoon that will allow us to load, park campus here, and then arrive at the elementary school. So those were the different pieces that we were able to come up with and look at the routes of what we can do to help alleviate our driver deficit.
So when you look at those three options, which one appears to be the most effective and efficient?
Well, personally, I think when we went through and it was kind of eye-opening to see that we could consolidate some runs and make a difference and really have an impact and not have to have any changes on the instruction. The three-tier system is kind of intriguing because it does give another option, it gives another layer. It's just another view that we can take to address not only driver deficit, but also instructional programs within the school if we need to adjust with those. But my pick, I guess, if that's what it would be just to remain with our same bell schedule, but allow us to consolidate some of these runs to make our department more efficient.
So this was just for our information, to let us know that you had considered options, and that what you have decided is that for the next school year, for 24-25, you could consolidate some routes, is that it?
Yes, ma'am.
And that should make us more efficient.
Absolutely.
So if you use that consolidated, then how many bus drivers do you need?
Well, there's always a need, because like I said, we run into that where we're running one tier folks on two tiers. And so we've been down 12 all year. And that's the thing, is either are they a one tier or are they a two tier? So it's tough for me to say, just if we had 5 more drivers, we would be totally covered in what we have now. But if those 5 drivers are only single tier drivers, that's still gonna leave 5 more runs that are uncovered. So it's tough to give it just a pinpoint number of people.
Right, so I guess what I'm getting to is that what would it take for us to be efficient, to be operating at, Mr. Benson looking at me like, what is she asking? I'm trying to see exactly what it is you're asking us to do or to consider.
This was an informational piece because we wanted the board to know that we understand and we see and we recognize when we have issues. And this was an opportunity for us to illustrate to you that we are looking at different ways of tackling this problem, and not just sitting back going, well, we just need more people, or we just need more buses, or whatever it is. But we are being kind of vigilant and progressively trying to attack this.
Anything to add, Mr. Benson? Thank you. And you certainly give us something to think about, and hopefully, when we do our planning for next year, you can come up with a recommendation. And I guess I was sort of pushing you because if we're gonna move to a 3-tier system, then that would mean we would have to have some kind of public hearings to get some community input on changing the school time. So I was just trying to see which way you were leaning, to see what we as a board need to do as next steps.
Yes, ma'am. I think when you look at communities around us where they have 3 tiers, they divide their elementary, middle, and highs the way they do, not dividing up. And sometimes it is the elementaries that get split up. Because we're unique here where we do have a good sized population and they're all in the building at the same time. They have the same bells at the middle school and high school. So those times we're unique that way. But yes, ma'am, thank you.
So any questions from other board members?
I like your approach of trying to combine routes and keep the bell schedule the same for next year, because if we have a 3-tier, one of the things that I can see that it might create a problem with is if you have grade level teacher meetings, if you have elementary schools that are on different schedules, even if it's by 30 or 45 minutes, then all of a sudden somebody's sitting around waiting 30 minutes for somebody else to get there. So I like the approach that you're taking on saying we can combine routes and practice first. Of course, if we used to do the other,
Any other comments, board?
I'd like to
working very hard, but I am concerned about smaller kids being picked on by bigger kids and vice versa. Then you put them together.
Oh, yes, ma'am.
Yes, then we put them together. In our budget, we budgeted for bus aids, but if we don't get that, it's not gonna help you guys. It's not gonna help.
I think the concept that you're moving forward with is not put all age groups on the bus. They're just talking about combining routes, but it's still separating millets and time from everything.
But option 3 was.
Option 3
I
is,
thought I
option
got
3
that.
is added.
But he's
Added vertical.
proposing option 1 is what he
Additional comments, thoughts?
I had a quick question. By combining routes, do we know, does that expand, you know, how much that would expand the time of kids on a bus in general?
And not even, because of their proximity of where they're at, they're already running by that area, so that was one thing, is we don't want to have kids on the bus. You know, we aim for that hour at the absolute tip top. So not putting them out, especially an elementary kid, I mean, put a kindergartner on the bus at 3:45, doesn't get home till 5 o'clock, that's not usually a good time.
And the only other question I had was, do you have the tools you need right now, to do this effectively? So I mean, to try to manage all the roads and all the homes that you're visiting in Southampton County, that's a task. Do you have, good enough software or other supports to help you kind of be able to plot all that information out and figure out an easy way to do that, or you're not sitting there with a map and trying to color dots and stuff in?
I did that one time, but no, we use the Edgelog system, that we have that works with Power Schools, pulling their addresses, and that helps to build the routes. You know, sometimes you gotta think smarter than the computer. This kid needs to go here, so you gotta manually do it. But, Mr. Vincent, Ms. Healy have been doing a lot of work behind the scenes. I'm working on that. I'm still crawling to figure it out, but working with that and working with the team from Edgelog has been pretty good.
Any other questions, comments?
And that was the purpose behind the Edgelog software, was to help design those routes, but the software is only as good as if you follow Google Maps these days, and for instance, it takes you through my driveway to get to Newsom's the last while. But, so you still have those nuances, that it's nice that it's not mechanical moves. Okay, that doesn't make sense.
And it helps because it doesn't always identify blockages, like, there's a bridge, underpass in Iowa right by 460. So you gotta take Bell Avenue all the way across on the dirt road, because you can't get through them.
So Edgelog helped a lot, but there's still nuances that need to be defined.
So interested in hearing how principals feel that they would be
Mr. Melvin, taking note of that.
Yes,
You
ma'am.
heard Ms. Hall's comment
Yes,
about getting input from principals. Any other comments? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Oh, that's true. Mr. Smith was saying Ken, who regularly drives, is retiring, so. So we're down to E and F, student enrollment and teacher attendance reports.
The, enrollment based on last month's data is 2,315 students, and inclusive of preschool and special education preschool, we would have 2,444 students. The winner of the student attendance award is Meharry Elementary School with 98.09%. And the winner of the teacher attendance award is Capron Elementary School
please review those and please attend events as your schedule will permit. So pursuant to section 2.2-3711A1A of the Virginia Freedom of Information Act, the Board upon motion and second will convene on closed session to consider the following: personnel appointments, resignations, retirements, and compensation, intra-district student transfer requests, out-of-district requests, student discipline matters, and a school board of supervisors matter. So do we have such a motion?
Second.
Have a motion by Mr. Scott, with a second by Ms. Lane. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? After the closed session, the board will return to this area to take any needed action on matters presented in closed session. Thank you.
That speech will be
Thank you.